So we take the main reading from Deuteronomy 28. And it is a big one, so Dad, I might ask you to finish it up for me if the voice gets weak in there. 3:12. Again, a quick overview of Deuteronomy. Maybe, I don't remember if the kids were here last time or not. The nation of Israel, or the Hebrews, are about to go into the land of Israel. Moses has given them an overview of the law, warnings and such whatnot. This is a chapter of warning. This is a message of warning from God to Moses for the Hebrew nation. Okay. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shall thou be in the city, and blessed shall be that thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of the sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way, and flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord shall command the blessings upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and thou shalt be afraid of thee. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord sware unto the fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head, and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. If thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thine kind, and the flocks of the sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he hath consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with the consummation, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew. and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee, until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them. And thou shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emeralds, with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. The Lord shall smite thee with madness, and blindness, and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. The fruit of the land and all thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always, so that thou shalt be mad from the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of the foot unto the top of the head. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. Thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coast, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil. For thine olive shall cast his fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of the land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt become down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all the curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because not hearkenest unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments, and his statutes which he commandeth thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, upon the seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, with which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thine kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. Could you finish that for me?
You shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest, throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, throughout all thy land. which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which did not venture to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things, secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plague, and of long continence, and sore sicknesses, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldst not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, Would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, Would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Okay, thank you. Well, that was a big one. But it's quite a word of warning to the traveling Israelite nation. It's pretty extensive. That if they don't follow God and obey His commands, that even they will eat their own children, which happens. You read that in 2 Kings. Can't remember what chapter it is. The enemy will besiege the cities, and it will be so bad that even the people will eat their children. So anyway, what I'm getting at, I wonder what the people were thinking about Moses when he said this, that this was God's message. Well, Moses don't care about my feelings very much. I think that's offensive. I wonder how popular his message was. How popular is the Christian message supposed to be that we send out to the world? In Matthew 23:37, Jesus said, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wing, and ye would not. They killed all the prophets because they didn't like what they had to say. We've gone through how all the apostles were killed. Crucifixion, burnings, beheadings, hundreds, thousands of martyrs. It still goes on today. It would seem to me that the message today is probably not any more popular than it was then. Because if one thing you find in the Bible, it's over resounding truth. And that truth, I should say, peace never trumps truth. Truth always trumps peace. In other words, no teacher from Scripture, Jesus or otherwise, gave a peaceable message without the truth. They didn't say nice things just to be nice. They spoke the truth, and usually the truth is a lot more than what people want to hear. Boudreaux over there, a couple weeks ago I told you about our confrontation, I guess you might say, or rather his yelling at me and telling me how pathetic I am. But this was probably about 2 years ago this happened. Joe Osteen was coming to Wichita at whatever that, is it Interest Arena? Is that the one that's in Wichita? He was going to be there to do his concert or whatever it is. I didn't know who he was at the time. I didn't know anything about him. But Boudreaux did. Seen him on TV, clipped the thing out of the paper, asked me if I wanted to go. He knew that I was a Christian. Obviously, he's not. But yet his message is awfully popular. It's friendly. It's nice. It's prepackaged. It's so prepackaged that even non-Christians eat it up. Probably heard this story, but I'll tell it again. From Crystal's friend who had all of his books. Another non-Christian, but who loves the friendly message of Joel Osteen that, God owes me a car and an easy life, or whatever it is. I don't know. I've listened to him a couple times, but that's pretty much what it is. And he can fill whole stadiums. Was that on the video that we was watching the other day, that his church is normally like 45,000 people? 45,000 people that come every week to listen to this ridiculousness. He sells out Dodger Stadium when he goes to LA. I don't know how big that is, but it's pretty big. I wonder how that same audience would have reacted at Moses' rally? If he had told them that your enemies will destroy you, you'll labor and not reap reward, that you'll eat your children first for hunger's sake. Second Timothy 4:3, Paul told Timothy, sit up. For the time will come, well, they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears. Isn't that the gospel of America today? To tell somebody what it is that they want to hear. Isn't it? Anybody with me? Everybody asleep? No, that is the message, to tell people what they want to hear. And to leave out what they don't want to hear. Paul also said, Acts 20:27, for I have not shunned to declare unto you all the counsel of God. That means all of the gospel, all of Scripture. Not the nice parts, not the cute parts, not to take verses out of context and use them wrongly to make it say what it is that you want to say. Not to sell books, videotapes, or fill up stadiums, but to teach the whole counsel of God. That's the commission from every pastor, every church, every individual Christian under the world. So do we get the whole counsel of God? I mean, I certainly don't rely on my being popular in this position. So I hope I'm delivering you the whole counsel of God, good and bad. So I just thought, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. If you do, fine. But were you getting the whole counsel before you came here? Were you getting a partial counsel? Were you getting the pretty part? Because the message of America today is shh. You don't talk about certain things, right? Sin, repentance, hell. We definitely don't talk about that. Revelation, that was a no-no subject. Or at least it was for me when I was involved in your standardized church. And after talking to you and you guys, and I've learned now that that's because that's part of the Rick Warren purpose-friendly church, purpose-driven church. We don't talk about unpleasant things because we want to talk to the unchurched people. And unchurched really means what? Potential clients is what they mean by unchurched. Like it's a business. Use language friendly to the potential clients and the weak-minded Christians. I was on a website. Don't know how old this website was. but it was saying that between 60 and 70,000 churches in America are on this purpose-driven plan. That's probably several years ago, so it's probably more than that now. This is the number of churches that get, I don't know, their weekly whatevers from Rick Warren, sermons, I guess, probably, and business updates or whatever it is that they do, I don't know. But I noticed a pattern from going to church myself or from seeing people on TV or whatever. I've learned how the structure goes. You have a sermon that's about your magical 30 to 40 minutes. You keep it full of jokes. Let the good times roll. Bunch of silly jokes. Positive material. Which there's nothing wrong with positive material as long as you're teaching the true and the full counsel of God, not just giving a bunch of nonsense that sounds nice. As long as everything equals an uplifting and inspirational message, you've pretty much got it there. Ain't that what it is? First Peter 4:17. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin with us, what shall the end of them that obey not the gospel of God? That's quite a statement. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end of them be that obey not the gospel of God? What end shall they come to? I got mixed feelings about Jack Van Impe, but one thing he said that I really liked is preach the Word of God in truth and fullness. You might empty out your church, but you'll fill up heaven. I like that. Our message shouldn't be happy, it should be truthful. Popular or not. If it is the truth, it probably won't be popular. Have you ever read the first chapters of Revelation? What Jesus said to the churches? Jesus tells John to write some things down to the seven churches. And it's pretty devastating. It's not your typical Sunday morning message. For the Christians, remember this is to a Christian audience. Jesus is going to share the truth, what he actually thinks of these churches. Not a positive, upbeat, lift message with nice music. Let's do chapter 3. Chapter 3 and I'll stop. Page 1690.